We are a privately owned national staffing firm. We're headquartered in Boston. We opened our doors in the year 2000 and now have over 50 locations across the country, over 900 employees and growing, and 8 specialty divisions. To put it simply, we place people in jobs and find talent for our clients. I would love for everyone to introduce themselves, and let's start with Laura.
Laura Colby. I work in Beacon Hill Associates, New York. I'm a Syracuse alum, 2001. And while I was at Syracuse, I was a child and family studies major. I was an active member of Delta Gamma, where I was the philanthropy and social chair.
Hi, everyone. I am Lauren Mclaughlin. I'm a staffing consultant with Beacon Hill in our technologies division here in New York City. I was a 2019 graduate of Syracuse. I was a political science major and writing minor.
Hi everyone, I'm Jenny. I'm a consultant here in our finance team in New York. Graduated in 2017 from Syracuse, and there I was in Whitman. I was finance and marketing.
Hi everyone, I'm Ella Biestek. I'm an account executive here in the Boston office within tech. So I graduated from Syracuse in 2019. I studied CRS within VPA, and then I also had a sport revenue and management operations minor.
What attracted you to staffing?
Post-college, I, as a child and family studies major, was thinking about social work. I was thinking about something where I could make an impact, and I, through friends and fellow students, learned about human resources. It was just not even something that was on my radar. So I was thinking corporate recruiting. I had an internship in campus recruiting at an investment bank and thought maybe that would be where I would end up and spend more time. It was a recession when I graduated, right after 9/11, and there weren't a lot of jobs. I was introduced to my former staffing agency, where I spent the first 7 years of my career, through a friend. And I went in as a candidate, hoping that they'd place me in a corporate recruiting job. And a few weeks later, they called and said, "We're actually hiring here, and we think you have the right personality for this job. Is it something that maybe you're interested in?" And I had no idea what this job meant. And so I was curious to hear about what was behind the curtain. And little did I know, it was a really natural fit for me.
Being in sorority, like recruitment, all of that, talking to so many people, I really enjoy just like connecting with people, learning about them. I think just also with this role being that, you're connecting people with jobs and their careers, and these could be long, like lifetime connections versus just like a one-time conversation. I think that's the part I do enjoy about it too. And like even today, like I talked to someone and he was like, "Oh, you remember about my family?" Because I asked a quick little question about his kids, so little things like that make it worth it.
What we do, what our jobs, what our day-to-day actually entails. And if you could even give like an example of a recent placement or success, I think that would just give a world of understanding to everyone who's new to this industry.
Rather than working directly with a candidate, I'm working specifically with the client. So I'm on the client-facing side, I guess you could say. And with that, I am seeking out all these companies that are local to Boston. I am seeking them out and building relationships with those people. So I will go and grab lunches with them. And sometimes the majority of it is just seeing how their day's going and, talking about their family, their kids. And one of the most recent examples I can give is one of my newer clients, actually. And I had been calling this guy, emailing him. I showed up on site with donuts. I got kind of yelled at a little bit because it is COVID, but I didn't go inside or anything. But then he responded to my email, so I was persistent. But I was finally able to get in touch with him, and we had a good conversation. And then the next thing I know, he's giving me a call 2 weeks later, asking me for his help to fill a job opening that he has.
Tell us more about your day-to-day and maybe a recent placement or success.
When we bring in roles for the team, we want to fill them, right? We want to find that right person that the client's looking for, and just basically hopefully find that perfect fit for them. And just with our network and our resources that we have that maybe, they don't have available immediately with their internal teams and things like that. So with recruiting, there's, a lot of factors from one, obviously identifying and finding a candidate, meeting with them, stay in touch with them, but overall just like really being a trusted partner for them. Because at the end of the day, you do want the candidates to trust you and that you'll take them through the process and be honest with them. And, I always also tell my candidates that our conversations are never a one-time thing either, because I want to be able to help them find their next step. And also, that next step can carry on to however long their career is, right?
On that note, how do you learn that, right? And how do you learn all the ins and outs of recruiting? Well, Lauren's going to tell us more about that. Lauren, can you tell us about the training process here at Beacon Hill?
Yeah, so our training process, I think, is different than some other staffing firms. It's very intimate and it's very hands-on. So, for example, I started in our technologies division in New York with 2 other 2019 grads. One went to Elon, one went to Florida State. It's also very important to note that they are also still working with us as well. That's something that separates Beacon Hill from our competition. We have higher retention rates, but everything that we did was together. So it was the 3 of us working directly with our manager, who also happens to be the division director of our tech team in New York. And she just walked us through everything. You do have like the general training on how to use our systems and how to use the software and everything like that. But then you got to learn how to be on the phones. I mean, that's the whole job. So I did have a little bit of experience with cold calling just from my time at Telefund, at Syracuse, but it's a totally different thing, So how to have these conversations, we all have, some kind of natural connecting abilities in us to be doing this job, but especially on the tech side, how do you have these calls? How do you convince people? So it was a lot of situational role plays where I'll be talking to my manager, pretending she's a candidate and just walking through exactly what to say. And you're really set up for success.
Training from a managerial perspective.
One of my favorite parts of my job. It is so validating when we're able to make an introduction for somebody who's entry level, new in their career, really excited. Certainly there's some vulnerability when people first get started because it is a big job. I always say it's, an easy job on paper and it looks really fun, and then you're in it and then there's an adrenaline rush and you're like hoping you say the right thing and the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And to Lauren's point, there's so much that has to be taught in those first couple of weeks and months. And so we're in week 3 right now of our training class. The first 2 weeks, I'm really proud of what we've done with our Beacon Hill Associates team, both temp and perm in New York. We're working together. So it's a mix of the junior folks getting mentored by managers and non-managers. It's a mix of role playing. It's a mix of managerial check-ins. It's a mix of, goal setting. And I'm happy to say right before this call, actually, I was literally listening in on one of the recruiters on my team that I'm managing, her inviting a candidate in for a FaceTime interview. And we went through everything together, how the candidate came to Beacon Hill, applying to a posting that we had, making that initial introduction, doing a couple of qualifying questions, and then deciding to actually formally interview this candidate. And I'll sit in on that interview as well and participate and kind of fill in the gaps because, we don't expect everybody to have the rule book all figured out day one.
Some more superstars, I think, are on their way for New York Associates. And that is what I want to talk about because Associates New York City, the team that Laura manages and oversees at large, has produced some of our top producers in the whole company, literally people that are regularly in the top 10, at the end of the year, on a month-to-month basis, making some of the biggest deals. And you've been with us, like I said in the beginning, for 10 years, which is incredible. What are common traits you have seen of people who started with us early in their careers, and what has made them successful? And kind of hand in hand with that is, as a manager, what are you looking for, and what do you think are traits that lead to success?
I will say when I think about people on my team, one of the first qualities that I typically look for is somebody that just treats others well. I think the internal trust and credibility that's really important to establish for people on our team when they come to work here. Yes, it's very much about getting credibility with a job seeker who's our candidate and also with a hiring manager who's our client. But the internal piece in building trusting relationships, being willing to help a coworker, being able to help guide them through training, right? And the individuals on my team are taking time off of their desk. to go and train others. So I just think like somebody who treats others how they want to be treated is huge. Self-motivated. I think somebody who's goal oriented in both a short-term gratification and a long-term bigger goal, very important.
I'd love for Ella to elaborate a little bit more about the Fast Track to Sales and her experience in that program, because it is very popular with our tech divisions.
You start in the recruiting for a little bit, you really get the full understanding as to what is this technology, what does it mean, what types of people would be good for this, and then knowing and being able to understand the market in your area, so like in New York, Boston, or wherever, and then understand those kind of technical skill sets or those specific skills that these people should have. That's what's great to know moving into the sales side. So now it's like when I'm talking to a client and trying to help them with the job, I know a lot more about technology than I would have if I were to just jump right into it.
Something recently that we started circulating internally and externally is some facts about women in leadership here at Beacon Hill. Over 40 women were promoted in 2020. 60% of our employees are women, and 2 out of every 3 leaders at Beacon Hill is a woman. Laura, I'd love for you to tell us about your career trajectory here at Beacon Hill.
For me, I started here as a one-person show. I was by myself for the first 6 months. I was wearing many hats, and I was running a full desk. I was doing sales. I was doing recruiting. I was meant to hire, train, and manage a team. So one of the first hires I had is Ariana Welly. She was University of Delaware, 2010. She was the president of Delta Gamma there. So we had that in common. And she is somebody who worked restaurants growing up, was a marketing major, and wanted to work in a relationship-based role. So I got her bright-eyed and bushy-tailed right out of school. She's now a senior managing consultant. She's managing a 5-person team. She is doing sales and recruiting. She's been promoted 3 times on our team. She's a consistent top of the hill President's Club producer. And she's somebody who I have watched grow, pay off her student loans, move into a bigger apartment, take trips every year with her friends. So she's in a really great place. And it's really exciting to see. And she's just one shining example. I could go on because it gives me great pride to talk about the people and personal and professional goals that they have accomplished on our team. And I'm just really proud of our longevity.
Let's jump into kind of a few more questions before we get to the Q&A. And these are going to be a little bit more rapid fire. So what is your favorite part of the job when it comes to the day-to-day? Lauren, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think just making a connection in general, even if you're not necessarily placing someone, just calling someone and kind of seeing what you have in common.
Office traditions, Beacon Hill traditions, we have a lot of those. I would love to hear from Ella and Jenny. Why don't each of you tell me one of your favorite office or Beacon Hill traditions? Let's start with Ella.
Yeah, for sure. So either celebrating when someone gets promoted, we all go out to dinner, drinks, popping champagne.
One of my first and favorite memories was our own team's like Christmas dinner that we had. We did Secret Santa. We went and got burgers at this place, JG Mellon's, and we just, it was just really great to get to know everyone on a more personal level.
Why would you suggest staffing, and more particularly, why Beacon Hill Staffing Group?
I think one of the things that makes a career in staffing really unique is there is a feel-good upside. There's literally no better feeling of calling a hiring manager and letting them know that a candidate that they have been seeking and interviewing and recruiting, and that we've shepherded them through the process, that they're accepting the offer. Keeping in touch with candidates and finding that they're getting promoted, you are the entry point for them to get a job. So, even calling the candidate and saying, we have an offer for you, and the candidate screaming, and this is their first choice, there's literally no better feeling. And so the nonprofit in me, if I could do this job, having this income potential, it's like I said earlier in this conversation, it's a perfect intersection. For those of you that are exploring PR, there's quite a bit of pitching that we do. We're pitching our candidates to each other, right? So I'll have a coworker, a recruiter on my team pitch their candidate to me and say, Laura, I think they could be great for that job you're working on. I'm pitching my candidate to the hiring manager at my client company and saying, I think this candidate could be great. They remind me of Lucy, who we also placed at your company. And I think they'd be wildly successful there. And then I'm pitching our services to the hiring manager, maybe to, and like with Ella's role, breaking an account, right? Like we might not have a relationship with that hiring manager, that company yet, but serving as an extension of the corporate recruiting contact that I might have and saying, listen, you're getting 500 applicants. There's no way you can get through that number of resumes. Work with us and we'll present the top 4 candidates. And I promise you in the next 2 weeks, you'll be able to make an offer with somebody you're really excited about. So I think that there's all the pieces of marketing, sales, and public relations are here in this role and in our industry. And then I will specifically speak to Beacon Hill, and you touched on this a little bit earlier, Jackie. I mean, before I started doing this job, I lived, close to Manhattan. I had been newly married. I was not a mother yet, and I am now. I didn't own a home. I do now. I'm really proud to say that the home that we bought has very much to do with my income that I earned through this career. And so this is a really unique company where the company has grown as I've grown as a professional. And so I continue to feel engaged and excited about the work that we're doing. And I feel like I'm in some ways just getting started, and I've been here for over 10 years.
Yeah, you really get to the heart of it, Laura. It's such a special place to work. And I will go as far as say, I don't even know if I would work in this industry if I wasn't working for Beacon Hill. The past few months where we have kept hiring, the past few months where we have kept people at a base salary and commissions, while some of our competitors went strictly to commissions. The past few months where we donated all the funds that would have been allocated for our quarterly outings, we donated all of that money to frontline workers during the pandemic. One of our questions was challenges of the job. I'm happy to go into more nuance about that on an initial call, but I would say to keep it brief, you have to have a lot of tough conversations and step out of your comfort zone, especially as someone new to the workforce. You might have to fire someone who's temping through Beacon Hill, but technically you're their recruiter, and therefore you're the one who has to make that call. Or you might make a cold call and someone on the other end of the line is in a foul mood and they are not nice to you. They scream into the phone and say, never call me again, and you are shook. You also just have to put in a lot of time and effort, and you are not leaving your desk at 5 o'clock when your friends who work at a different company downtown are all meeting for happy hour. You might miss the hour where the drinks are the cheapest, but you'll be making enough money that you could pick up the round at regular price for your friends, probably a few months or at least a year in. Success, I think, is defined. This was the second part of the question that we got. I think everyone here probably defines success differently, if I'm being honest with you. And that's another thing I love about us, because, we are not like a cookie cutter company in the sense that everyone's values are the same. I think there's the reward of getting people jobs. I think there is the reward of seeing your commission check grow every month. I also think, though, to Lauren's point, it's making someone's day and just having a good conversation with them. Success to me sometimes looks like just seeing someone that I manage have success themselves. So I would just say, when it comes to success, it is yours for the taking here at Beacon Hill, and whatever success means to you, it is likely you will find it here. Thank you so much, Lauren, Ella, Jenny, and Laura. I can't thank you enough. If you're interested, you're watching this today and applying, reach out to me directly via email. You might have gotten a message from me on Handshake or LinkedIn. Reply to me directly there. If you don't have my email, maybe you heard about this on social media or through your own network, my email address will be on the exit screen when you leave, and there'll be a little exit survey. We are making offers as early as November for May 2021 grads. So feel free to, if you want to learn more about us and get the process started, reach out to me and we'll get the ball rolling.